This segment is sponsored by Hilltop Wealth Solutions.
Erik Brenner from Hilltop Wealth Solutions is a certified financial advisor with nearly 30 years of experience.
Today, Erik is giving us tips on how to start planning for our taxes in 2022. Take a look. Well, Erik, through your years as a fiduciary advisor, you've talked with us about tax planning. And so what are some of those key steps that people should be thinking about regarding tax planning if you potentially see any tax changes happening in the future?
Yeah, so, people are finishing up their tax returns, and a lot of times they just put it away and really don't think a lot about it. And what we're encouraging people to do is start thinking about next year. Start thinking about 2022 or even 2021 and forward-looking tax planning. Potentially taxes will be going up. You may or may not be affected depending on your situation. So really start thinking about, okay, we now can make changes this year for 2021. What do those changes need to be?
Well, we've also talked about retirement planning and the differences between IRA options. When someone's looking at potential tax breaks, is there one that's better than the other?
So, there is IRA, traditional IRAs, and there's Roth IRAs. And the first thing I would say, Jackie, is we encourage people to save. So one way or the other is to save money, whether that's $50 a month or whether that's $500 a month, just save. Secondly is Roth IRAs are tax-free, and we like the tax-free. We continue to see folks where they get into retirement and now they're going to be in a higher tax bracket. And I'm just saying that with the folks that I work with, many of those have that issue coming up where there's going to be in a higher tax bracket. So it just depends on their situation. We like Roth IRAs because they're tax-free. They may want a traditional IRA or a balance of both.
Well, Erik, let's talk about the difference between tax diversification versus investment diversification.
Yeah, so there is a difference. So investment diversification is making sure that you're diversified in stocks, different kinds of stocks, domestic stocks, small, medium, and large stocks, international stocks, bonds, different kinds of bonds. That's diversification from an investment perspective. Tax diversification is what we talked about was Roth IRAs, Roth 401ks, traditional 401ks, traditional IRAs, having a balance there so that down the road, you have a balance or streams of income. When you think of this, that, you won't just be drawing one paycheck. You're going to have different incomes coming from different sources, Social Security, investments, retirement plans, and so forth. And that's the difference. Really big difference. Risk, investment, tax is what your taxes are today, plus what they may be down the road.
Well, we now know that tax filing deadline is in May, so there's still potentially some time to correct any of those common mistakes that people are making during tax filing. What are some of those common mistakes?
Well, they still can make a contribution to an IRA, so that's a possibility. If they do owe quarterly taxes and they're paying estimateds, those are due by the 15th of April, so they have to actually pay those in. And obviously do not have to file their final tax return until May. Many of the other decisions are pretty much gone, besides making some contributions to IRAs and taking advantage of some deduction there.
Well, what changes really have you seen so far this year with any tax changes, or I guess your insight on any tax proposal changes potentially coming up?
Yeah, so now that President Biden now is in office, certainly this is now becoming a topic of discussion. And we've seen a lot of proposals out there. We haven't seen any actual changes and don't know if really anything will get through this year. We're kind of thinking this year, probably not. But we certainly could see long-term capital gains and those rates changing. We could see what's called stepped up basis, which gets to be fairly complicated, but that could change. So we're really keeping a close eye on how our clients are going to be affected or may be affected by these changes. So more to come on this, Jackie.
Well, let's talk about tax deductions.
I think those are always a positive thing to talk about. So how can we kind of prepare and think about those when we're filing taxes, and what should people look out for?
Yeah, so, a lot of people think now with the changes that happened in the 2018 tax law changes, a lot of people then couldn't itemize. So they think that, now I can't itemize. So I'm not going to track my medical expenses as an example. I'm not going to track my charity contributions or my donations as an example. So I would say that you still may want to track those. Just depends on your situation. So you don't want to overlook those things. Just don't say I don't apply to that. And then the piece of saving in a retirement plan, pre-tax versus after tax, you really want to look at what's best for you. Let's weigh this out. Do I put some in pre-tax and save tax now? Do I put some in after tax? And we're really encouraging people to make sure they look at both of those.
Well, Erik, you always have a special offer for our Hometown Living viewers. What do you have for us this morning?
Yeah, so what we're offering up is a second opinion tax review, and they can just call the number. So we have 10 spots for this. Normally this would be upwards of $1,000 to do. So they just call that number on the screen, the 212-0446. And what we'll do is we'll do a 30-minute introductory call, Jackie, determine what the situation is. It's complimentary, and then we can determine whether or not we really want to dig into a free tax review, and it's a forward-looking tax side. Many things may be done for last year, but let's get a handle on this year to make sure that you're taking advantage of all of the tax advantages that you have available.
Well, Erik, thanks so much for joining us once again here on Hometown Living.
Thanks, Jackie.
Give them a call at 574-212-0446 or head over to hilltopwealthsolutions.com for that special offer as well.
We have more Hometown Living.